We are back. Two G's in a pod. Your mum's favorite duo. Back on Zoom again. What you saying, Andy?
Good, man. I'm good. I'm really excited. We've got the third episode of our Spotlight series. And we're talking about, I'm excited for two reasons. The first reason is the Spotlight series that we've got today is on one of my all-time favorite artists. We've got an episode on Bob Marley. Bob Marley, one of the pioneers of reggae music. And the other reason I'm excited is because we've got a very special guest. We've got, she might be my favorite guest we've ever had, but we've got, the not so corporate babe. We've got the lover of pappyshow, the Prime Minister of Jamaica herself. We've got Keanna on Zoom. Hey Keanna, how's it going?
Hey, that's a serious intro, A
No,
serious.
to be honest, yeah, I wasn't even joking because the last time when you were on, the number of people that messaged me like, oh, get Keanna back on. She's get this. I was like, bro, it's better than me, man.
This is really encouraging. I've been telling my friends I want to be a DJ, and no one's supporting my musical je ne sais quoi. I don't even know if that like goes together.
No,
Like,
no,
if you
no,
can
no,
do
it works.
je ne sais quoi, because I never studied French. But you know what? He's gonna come for me on Zoom. But it's a pleasure to be back on my favorite music pod. I'm not a mum, so but you guys are my personal duo, fave duo. Even though I'm not a mum. When I become a mum, then I can really.
Nah,
we can widen the scope. We can widen the scope of it.
It means a lot, but it means a lot. But yeah, Keanna, how you been? How are you?
I'm good. I'm just, living my life in this, wonderful panny we have going on. Just taking each day as it comes, studiting. Is that even, it's not a word. It's not a word. I know it's not a word. I am studying in this wonderful pandemic that is coming to an end. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. So I'm just prepping myself to live my best life. That's how I'm doing. Like I'm good. And I'm ready to be free. Free like you.
Let's not talk too much about it. But yeah, no, I can't lie. This summer's looking, people have been saying it's looking big. It's looking big. People live their best lives, man.
Fingers crossed things don't get shut down again.
Bro, there's no way, because now once they put the date out, like there's no way anybody's gonna go back into lockdown. Like no one's gonna do it. So that was their first mistake. They shouldn't have put a date out, but they did. So
yeah. They just said June, July, or sometime around August.
You need the army to get everyone back in if you're gonna try and stop them.
I would just say, in true adulting form, let's, manage expectations, because we've had a lot of dates. We weren't supposed to be here.
That's true.
So, but I'm not going to reveal my plan if the date. I can't reveal my plan. I'm a lawyer, serious stuff. But if June 21st don't happen, summer must still occur, even if it's in my house, in my garden. As for me, myself, and I'm gonna be living my best life, child.
Oh man. But yeah, so we are talking Bob Marley. So the way I'll do it, we'll break it down, just go through his life and music and like his career, and then we'll get into some of the discussions about his politics, because Ken has some stuff to say about that. So, but to start off, yeah, Bob Marley, he's a pioneer of reggae music. I did a little bit of research, so let me just sprinkle a little bit in. He's a pioneer, pioneer of reggae music, Rastafari icon, and a global symbol of Jamaican culture. He was the first artist from Jamaica to achieve international superstardom. And his music gave a voice to kind of the day-to-day struggles of Jamaica, capturing the plight of the country's impoverished and oppressed. And it was often infused with spirituality. He was preaching peace and love. And he had a lot of kind of revolutionary aspects to his music as well. So his early life, he was the son of a white Royal Marines captain and a black teenage mother. He was born Robert Nesta Marley on 6th February in 1945 in 9 Mile, which is a district of the rural St. Anne's Parish in Jamaica. I don't really know Jamaica like that, but this is what I've picked up. And then when he was a teenager, he moved to a government yard in Trenchtown, where he was introduced to his various musical influences, which include ska, R&B, and rock and roll. and it was there that he met Neville Livingston, who was later known as Bunny Wailer, and Peter Tosh, with whom he would go on to form the vocal group The Wailers, which was kind of the group that was with him through his career. So as The Wailers, they added three other singers to their group. They added Beverly Kelso, Junior Braithwaite, and Cherry Smith in 1963, and then they started recording music. And their popularity kind of was cemented in 1965 when they released their debut album, The Wailing Wailers, and had the single One Love on there, which I didn't realize One Love came out that early. I thought it was a lot later, but I think he re-released it on later albums and stuff. But yeah, and by 1966, Kelso, Braithwaite, and Smith, so those are the three he added afterwards, they all left the group. So kind of left the kind of lead vocal duty to Bob Marley. And they kind of went forward known as Bob Marley and the Wailers. And they released internationally acclaimed reggae albums, including Catch a Fire in 1973, which was their Island Records debut, and they released Burning, which had I Shot the Sheriff, which kind of got international fame because Eric Clapton, who I'm not really sure who he is, but he did a cover of I Shot the Sheriff, which kind of went worldwide and gave Bob Marley a lot more popularity outside of Jamaica. And then in 1974, the band kind of broke up, and he kind of went on to release solo material, but still using the name Bob Marley and the Wailers. And he enlisted the I3s, which were the kind of backing vocals. So a lot of his songs you hear kind of a trio of women singing, and those are the I3s. And one of the I3s was his wife, Rita Marley, who he married in 1966. And his 1974 solo breakthrough was Natty Dread. That was the album. And he also released a live album, which was kind of a rendition of all their live songs, and included a live rendition of No Woman, No Cry, which kind of went crazy at the time as well. And then he had the 1976 follow-up Rastaman Vibration, which proved to be his US breakthrough, because by 1976 he kind of was an international star in kind of the US and elsewhere. But yeah, like being out here, as I've said before, I spent a lot of time with my dad out here. And my dad was telling me how his music had kind of like touched Ghana at that time as well. So 1976, my dad was 14, 15. And he was saying at that time, like every kind of young Ghanaian guy wanted to be Jamaican, in the sense that he's like even reflected it. He was like, it's kind of embarrassing looking back. Like I'll be walking around saying I, and I'm like, and I was like, but yeah. So you say like back then it kind of that kind of gives a sense of how viral we've gone, because like Ghana at that time, it's not like nowadays where you can kind of plug in, you got Spotify and all them kind of things. So for his music to go from Jamaica to Ghana to the UK, US, wherever else, it's like kind of shows how big he got as an artist at the time. But yeah. And in 1976, so basically part of the reason I wanted to do this episode, as I said, he's one of my favorite artists of all time. And I watched a Netflix documentary called Who Shot the Sheriff? I watched it 2 weeks ago. And it was about basically when Bob Marley survived an assassination attempt. And it had a whole host of like conspiracy theories and stuff. And I was like, right, you know what? This guy's life was mad interesting, you know? So I proper dived into it. And yeah, like it was proper eye-opening to see a lot of the aspects that I feel of his career, of his music and stuff, which are kind of like not really spoken about. You know what I mean? Like he's I feel like he's kind of reduced to just like this, almost like a hippie figure, like just talking about one love and peace and this and that. But he was about much more than that at the time as well. So yeah, Isaac, you saw the documentary as well, right? I sent it to you.
Yeah, I saw the documentary. I mean, I had been meaning to watch that documentary for a while, and I never got around to it. But when you said look into it, I looked at it. It was interesting. It was interesting because I didn't know that much, to be honest, about the history of Jamaica at that time. So to be honest, it was more interesting from that perspective for me than from specifically Bob Marley. But like, it was interesting to know like how he fit into that and like what he tried to do around that.
Mm. No, it was interesting because, yeah, like you said, the stuff about the history of Jamaica, I didn't know much about that as well. And it was interesting how his career kind of, like I said earlier, like his music was speaking to kind of the Jamaican youth, the oppressed people and stuff. And so it kind of makes sense that his career and his messaging was kind of reflected that as well. I don't know if, I mean, we've only got one Jamaican here in our midst, but Keanna, what do you think about, I mean, you really kind of hinted at what certain people think about his music and his messaging and stuff. But yeah, what do you think about?
So I also watched a documentary. I found the documentary interesting.
Okay.
Like, yeah, I
I
have.
don't sound too good, but the way you said that.
It was a good documentary. Like I learned a lot of stuff. Like I had really informative conversations with my grandparents, about their experience and growing up in Jamaica, and and also for the short time that I lived in Jamaica, I would go regularly. Also seeing that this political back and forth still very much exists now, and hasn't died down just because Bob Marley's come and gone. And they made mention of that, like, great concert, babe. We love the peace. The peace is necessary, but unfortunately, peace doesn't pay the bills.
Yeah.
But when I spoke to my parents when I spoke to my grandparents first, I spoke to my granddad, and I was like to him, "What do you think about Bob Marley, babe?" Like, because me and him are cool like that. Like, genuinely, he was like, "You know what, Kiana, I like him. He's alright." I was like, "Okay," but he's a man of few words, so take that. But he said he appreciated that there wasn't all the cussing and swearing. So I was like, hey, like this is a good step. And when I spoke to my dad, he was very similar in that he appreciates his music now. And so for me, growing up, it's a complete different experience of really enjoying his music for a completely different reason. Do you get what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
understand, it's like it's your thing that makes you feel connected to home. You grow up and your mom's cooking food, or you're cleaning the house to this, or my dad's working on like fixing something in the house and we're listening to this. So it's an interesting back and forth. There's a lot of mixed opinions about the wonderful Bob Marley, but I think one thing no one can discount is that his music is good. Like, even if you don't agree with him, his politics or whatever, like, he does make some bangers. People have been singing these bangers from primary school.
Yeah.
Everyone around the world sings these bangers. Like, and when I go on holiday and people ask where I'm from, like, and I'd be like, or they pick, when you're walking through the market on holiday,
Yeah.
and they choose what country you're from, like, oh no, I'm Jamaican. So they're like, Bob Marley. Like, okay, yeah, we can do that. We can go with that. But I think the point you made is right. I do think people reduce his music down to like just this hippie man who smokes weed, gets a bit high, makes some tunes, and the tunes are about peace and love. And I don't think that's a fair description of his music at all.
Yeah, yeah, and I think his music is definitely more than that. I mean, you said you wanted to we'll get into sort of people's misgivings about his politics, and I remember you mentioned as well when I brought it up to you, I shouted you to come on, and you said some of his choices in partners as well. So I think we'll get into that as well. But before we do that, I'll kind of explain more about the documentary and about his the assassination attempt. But let me play. Let's get into a tune first. Actually, let's play "I Shot the Sheriff," and then we'll get into that. So here's "I Shot the Sheriff." So that was "I Shot the Sheriff," and yeah, I said I'd get into more about the assassination attempt. So in 1976, there was a lot of kind of political strife in Jamaica between the ruling Social Democratic Party, which is the People's National Party, or the PNP, which was headed by socialist Michael Manley, and the opposition, which was the Conservative Jamaican Labour Party, or the JLP, which was led by Edward Seaga. And in an attempt to kind of ease the political tensions, Bob Marley agreed to do a concert for the country. So he said, by then, Bob Marley was like one of the biggest artists in Jamaica. He was like the stuff of legend. And he'd always tried to stay kind of apolitical, because I think I've read somewhere that it was to do with his like Rastafarian faith, that they don't take political sides or something like that. But So he always like, he never endorsed any candidates or anything, but he said, I'll do the concert because it might be a chance to sort of bring some peace to kind of the state of the country. But because the concert was proposed by Michael Manley, who was the prime minister at the time, people kind of took it as Bob Marley endorsing Michael Manley as a candidate, because there was an election coming up, and because of that, there were loads of like kind of people that were against Michael Manley, which then took it as, all right, Bob Marley's against us. And so basically the 2 days, I think it was 2 days before the concert, armed gunmen came to the house and just like ran off, and they shot up the whole place. They shot, his manager got shot like 7 times, his wife got shot in the head. And there's rumors that her dreadlocks protected her. I see these things on Instagram that say like, they say, oh, protect your crown, blah, blah, blah. They say, they use this as an example. They say, this is why you need to look after your...
I've never seen that.
But she did get shot in the head and she didn't die. I think the bullet got lodged between like her scalp and something else. So she was very lucky. And Bob Marley he actually only was like grazed by the bullet. So he had like a small thing in his arm. And so after that, he kind of wasn't going to perform or anything. But he decided to still perform. So he performed 2 days later. And even during the performance, he kind of lifted up his shirt and showed everyone the gunshot wounds and everything. And was like, this is, like, we need to unite, we need to peace and stuff. But it had like a very profound effect on him, because like shortly after the concert, he left Jamaica and he was kind of in almost like a self-imposed exile, because I guess it just wasn't safe for him to stay there. So he moved to London after spending a bit of time in America as well. And that's where he started sort of going ham with the music, in the sense of he was dropping album after album, he was touring excessively, he was going around the world and everything. So it was at that point where he kind of went from, international star to like almost superstar level. And that was in sort of 1975 onwards. And he kind of didn't really return to Jamaica often after that. But yeah, like hearing about that was crazy. Like I didn't really know much about the kind of situation and stuff. And I mean, still performing after being shot is a bit crazy as well. So
performance looked live as well.
You say?
Performance looked live from what I saw.
Yeah, man. Like one thing about him that I noticed is like his performance style was crazy. Like he like you know the ones where you see someone that's like there's a few people that I really wish I could have seen them perform. Like him, Michael Jackson, people like that. Like I'm just like just to kind of experience it, because it looked crazy. No,
you want to know a funny story? So like, I've been to Bob Marley's house when I was young. It's like you can go there, you can tour it. I think in Jamaica.
Again, you've been to.
So like, I went to his house where the shooting occurred.
Okay.
Because it's I think it's like public in Jamaica now. Like you can go there. So like I went there, but when I went there, I was like 6.
Okay.
So obviously I didn't know the context at the time. I thought he died in the shooting. So I was like, raw, I'm going to see like with the bullets that like pierced my man were lodged in the wall. I was like, raw, this is crazy. And obviously like later on, I'm like, oh no, I just grazed his arm, And now the experience feels like a lot less like memorable than it did at the time. But obviously, thank goodness he didn't die. But like for my childhood experience, it was like that made it a lot more powerful when I was thinking that, this like he died in the shooting.
Now, to be honest, when I watched the documentary, I like all this time I thought he died in it as well. So when I watched it, and they were like, oh no, he just grazed his arm. I was like, they made a whole documentary about this dude just grazing man's arm. I mean, it was still a good documentary, so I'm not gonna cause it too much.
No, you're right. Do you know what? My story of the shooting, I knew he didn't die. That because I heard when I was younger, I heard he had cancer in his big toe.
I also heard that,
True.
Yeah. That's
I heard he had gangrene. I don't know if that was like
no, it's true.
It's true.
Like his toe and green. That's what I heard. But anyway,
it's under his toenail, and he just didn't treat. I mean, I was gonna get into it.
Okay, we don't have to go there, but that's what I'm saying. I knew he was alive.
Yeah.
But I thought he got shot. You know how 50 Cent also got shot? Everyone's I thought he like caught some bullets. I don't think it was just like. So if anyone deserves the It's Rita. Rita got a headshot, you know. Rita and his manager. Yeah, shout out to the manager. Shout out to Don. I think that was his name. Holding it down. Took all the in his back. And Bob was just there doing side profile. But Rita held it down. Headshot for her man. Do you understand? No one want to talk about Rita's headshot. And Rita's still alive to tell the tale. Where was Rita in the documentary?
I think she had like one interview, like one line or something. She wasn't very present.
Was she in it?
Well, they showed a picture or something, though. Like
they showed a picture, but I don't remember.
I know she appeared briefly in the documentary.
But you know, because since he died, there've been loads of like legal stuff about his estate and everything. So she might not just.
She might just. He also we're not gonna get into that right now, but I understand if Rita said no. Rita lives in Ghana.
Let's get into it. She lives in Ghana.
Yeah.
So let me try. Ghana's small, you know. I might.
This guy actually gonna try to get a one-on-one interview. Part 2 of the documentary under the pod label.
Yeah. But now, Keanna, what were you gonna say when you said we're not getting into it? Because I mean.
So obviously, the sad thing about any icon and any hero, right, is that they are human. Human. So one of my favorite Bob Marley songs, is "Waiting in Vain."
Yeah.
Do you see that song? Banger.
Yes.
I will sing that with my entire chest, my diaphragm, every part of me. But then I found out today that Bob Marley wrote this for Cindy. And I just, in the documentary, they're saying Bob Marley's girlfriend. How does one have a girlfriend and a wife at the same time? Let's think about this. And I'm not here to judge. I don't agree, but you know what? I'm not gonna draw anybody out. Everyone falls short. But you cannot have a wife and a girlfriend at the same time.
That's true.
You cannot. You either have a wife or you have a girlfriend. And if you have both, then you're doing something a bit is even an understatement. You're doing something very shady. So I was really sad that apparently he wrote the song for her and he had Rita doing BV on the tune. That's harsh. Do you think I'm gonna sing a song that my man has written for his mistress and I'm gonna hit them notes? No, I'm gonna deliberately sing off key. You will not get no royalties on this song. This song ain't going out nowhere. No release date. So you either release me from this marriage or you release your girlfriend. What is going on?
Picture that Janae doing backing vocals on this song, singing single again.
Oh. Yeah, that was City Boy Anthem last summer. Maybe we should make an all-time list of City Boy songs now.
I think you should. My heart was broken, I read that. It could be a lie, but I don't think it's a lie.
I think
I read on the blogs.
Wait, but did they know about each other?
She definitely knew about it. He had so many kids with other women. How can he not know? How could she not know?
Or maybe she was okay with the situation.
Maybe,
I don't know. Some people live their life a little bit.
We can't confirm it, but the ones where you're like forced to be okay with the situation that you're not really okay with, just to like say
that could also have been the case.
I feel like that's more likely, but we don't know. We can't,
She might have been doing her thing as well.
She could have been. We don't know.
That's a valid, nuanced opinion. She could have.
There's a lot of unknowns.
No one knows, but what we do know is that Cindy was Bob Marley's girlfriend. They even had a picture together. So this wasn't an affair. If you got a whole picture together that's on Google right now, and you're all hugging up multiple pictures, you guys are brazen with your pappy show. Brazen.
That is funny.
That's just my only, it's just he did a lot for peace, but I think it's also important to have peace in your home and not to be you know what I mean? But like you said, if Rhea was okay with it, it's not my marriage. It's not my marriage. I'm not gonna judge.
I mean, has she written books since, or she's done, because after he passed, she did have a small recording career herself. I don't know how successful she was. I haven't actually listened to any of her music, but I think she's definitely said that it wasn't all smooth sailing with the guy. She wasn't just completely comfortable with what was going on. But yeah, I mean, like we said, he had some very questionable life choices, shall we say? But we need to talk about the music in it. So
this is not a podcast for relationships. Let's talk about music.
Yeah. Where were we at? Oh yeah, so he kind of exiled himself. He was in London. He was making music and stuff. He did return to Jamaica in 1978 for the One Love Peace concert, which was kind of a repetition of the previous concert. I guess I don't know if 1978 there was another election, just the fact that tensions had risen up again, but he came through to sort of ease tensions. And this one, I mean, he didn't get shot before, so you know it's better. And he got the two political opponents, so it was Michael Manley and Edward Siaka, and he got them on stage and like got them to hold hands, and he was like singing "Unite" and stuff. They looked so awkward in the situation, like they looked like they really didn't want to be there. But I guess it's still like symbolic, you know, to have the two I guess political enemies, you know, holding hands and the Unite and stuff. It didn't actually have an effect on the violence in the country. The violence was still bad before and after. But I guess for that day there was peace. And yeah, when he was in London, he worked kind of relentlessly. He made Exodus, he made Kaya, he made Survival, he made Uprising. He was just making tune after tune after tune, making albums. He was touring everywhere. He had a massive fan base in America. Because he kind of, like we mentioned, how his kind of legacy was almost reduced to this sort of hippie, weed smoking, peace and love kind of guy. But that really resonated with the hippie, weed smoking people in America. So he had a massive fan base out there. And so this took him through to 1980, I think it was, when he released Uprising. And he had set kind of a world tour for 1981. So 1981 was meant to be his big, like, he's going everywhere kind of thing. But tragedy struck because, like you mentioned earlier, so in 1977, he was diagnosed with cancer in his big toe. There's rumors about what happened, because some people say that it was a football match, because he played a lot of football. Some people say it was a football match and his toe got smashed and it wouldn't heal. And then when they checked, it's because he had something going on, and then they diagnosed him with cancer. Others say that they just discovered the cancer under his big toe. But yeah, he had a specific type of skin cancer. And so they, you know, advised him to amputate his toe. But he, for whatever reason, people say it was because of his Rastafarianism. People say it's because of loads of different reasons. There's some people that say that it was because, I think Rita said this herself, that he thought that people wouldn't want to see him perform if he couldn't sort of jump around and everything. So he was proper committed to the whole performance aspect of his career. So he decided to do sort of skin grafts and stuff, but it didn't really work out for him. And by 1981, he was in America. He was in New York Central Park in late 1980. And he went out for a jog and he collapsed. And they discovered that the cancer had basically spread everywhere. It spread to his brain, his lungs, his liver. So it spread everywhere. So which means he kind of, I think it kind of puts a kind of poignant twist on his music as well, because it means when he was recording everything for those last 3-4 years, like, he knew that he was dying as well. So it might even kind of give an idea of why he was making music at such a pace, because it's like he was almost thinking, yeah, listen, I've got this gift, I need to kind of record and give it to the world almost. Or maybe thought that this is the reason he's been put on earth, was to make this music and stuff or whatever. But it's just like, it's a bit crazy to sort of know that you're dying and still just be in the studio, be touring, doing everything like that. But yeah, so by 1980, late 1980, they found out that it had spread. And then sort of he lived another 8 months, which was longer than they gave him, because they gave him like 6 weeks or something like that. So he lived another 8 months, and in that time he sort of recorded a bit more music and just sort of, I don't know, I mean, his body kind of deteriorated and stuff. So he died on 11th May 1981 from the cancer spreading everywhere. And he died aged 36, which is another thing that's crazy, because he's kind of made timeless music, like you said, like everybody listens to his music and everything. And he was so young when he did it all as well, which is very interesting. So, but yeah, so you know, we can kind of get into his legacy as well, because we've mentioned how his music is timeless and everybody listens to it in like all corners of the globe and stuff. So yeah, Keanna, you mentioned about what people think about his legacy and his politics and stuff like that. So do you want to kind of jump into that?
Yeah, I was thinking about this afternoon. I feel like one thing I really respect about Bob Marley, and I think a lot of people also probably should respect if they don't, in my humble opinion, is I think he definitely was an artist who emptied himself whilst he was here on earth. Like, he produced music that was edifying, he produced music that was poignant and spoke to the issues that were going on then, even if he had a commercial sway to it and he was making music for the States or for Europe or whoever. At its core, the messaging still remains the same. And I was wondering whether we have any artists that do that, because I kind of feel like the modern day artists sit on either side of the pendulum. It's like, either I'm going to make music that's deep and it may not sell, but I don't care, or I'm just going to pretend that politically nothing's happening, or they join the I mean, I said two, but there's a third. Like, they're not for anybody. And I think with Bob Marley, I think his legacy speaks in that, he everyone knows his music. I think, or even if I use the term everyone, as it might seem a bit broad, I feel like the vast majority of people know who he is. Even if, no, minus the Spotify, minus the Instagram, minus the connectivity we have now, I can speak to my friends' grandparents who are not Jamaican, not Caribbean, period, and they can know of him and know who he is, even if they don't agree with the perception the world has created of him. Or maybe I wouldn't go as far as to say the perception the world has created of him, but like a very small aspect of what he did, they still know his name. Like, his name actually rings bells. And his music is good. I told you. My granddad said it's all right, and that is a compliment. They don't sound like a compliment. My granddad said, "No, it's all right." And he's influenced so many artists. Now, I think when it comes to a Jamaica side of thing, I can't go as far as saying certain reggae artists are categorically influenced by Bob Marley, because I think also, as was said, in terms of being a Rasta and just how Jamaica music and reggae is infused within Jamaica, I feel like particularly when I spoke to my dad as well, there are so many artists doing the same thing at the same time. So I wouldn't be able to speak and say, okay, like, his legacy has changed every single artist in Jamaica and they all make music, and not every, but like this specific genre because of him. I would rather say that he was able to share with the world a very beautiful part of Jamaica, to make beautiful music and comment on things when things aren't going too well, when the state of your country and politically it's not going too great, and to still be true to yourself. And that's why even if I don't like some of the other stuff Bob Marley did, I like this choice. Like, this choice of being, authentic and consistent, and actually caring about music beyond just the money it brings in, but like the impact it has on the people and the impact on the listeners. And even though he didn't go back to Jamaica in the same way, and in the documentary they were saying he missed it so much, that you still knew he was a Jamaican man. Even in London, in this UK or in the States, he was still a Jamaican man. And I think you can't knock that. A lot more artists should take a leaf out of Bob Marley's book, respectfully.
I agree with you. I think it's definitely true that a lot of artists don't really stand for anything now, and at least whatever you say about his politics and his legacy or whatever, like, at least he stood for something and he let that come through in the music. And I think it's safe to say, I know you're a very harsh critic of when hold on, no, let me let when I kind of call people a legend, and you say I'd be throwing out the term, but I think in this case we can actually say that he is a legend. And yeah, so kind of reflecting on his legacy, he like you said, his music was what kind of took reggae worldwide, and so even if other reggae artists haven't been directly influenced by him, like, even if there's a debate about whether that's the case, it's very true that his other artists wouldn't be able to have seen the success that they have without Bob Marley kind of making waves internationally. So yeah, his and like that's kind of reflected in the fact that his Legend album, which was his greatest hits album that they made after he died, in 1984 is the best-selling reggae album of all time, by quite a long way as well. And yeah, he's also got 11 children, including notable musicians Ziggy Marley and Damian Marley. And he's also, I think Skip Marley is his grandson, which I think is crazy as well. So he's left a lot of, like, even if their music doesn't sound like him, like there's definitely an influence there, because to have three of your descendants be, big top selling artists worldwide as well, is something too. And yeah, so he's kind of left a lasting legacy. And I think one thing as well through his music, which people kind of skip over, so his conversion to Rastafarianism, which was in the late 1960s, kind of informed a lot of his music and his politics and stuff. And through that, he often criticized the West and its kind of political and economic and class systems. And there's loads of songs where he refers to it as Babylon. And he kind of infused all his music with anti-imperialist, Pan-African themes as well, which, yeah, I mean, I was speaking to my dad about this because a lot of the time, the reason I was speaking to my dad a lot about Bob Marley is because my dad, like you said, my dad doesn't really like music with swearing and that. So when I'm driving with him, I can't really play what I like to play. The other day I was playing Young Thug's new album, Slam Language 2. And he was sitting there and I was like, well, you're not feeling it. And he said, it's just so dull and monotonous. And so yeah, so yeah, he's a harsh critic as well. But when we listen to Bob Marley when I'm driving out here, and he was talking about how a lot of the music resonated with young Africans because a lot of it was talking about Pan-Africanism, about anti-imperialism and stuff, which obviously in the 70s was, in the 60s and 70s was big in Africa because a lot of countries were gaining independence at that time. So yeah, like I feel like that is kind of skipped over as well. People don't. I mean, I feel like the people that listen to Bob Marley and know Bob Marley, listen to his lyrics, associate him with it, but a lot of other people kind of skip over that. And to be honest, myself, like I've listened to Bob Marley my whole life, but it's only recently that I've actually listened to the lyrics and been like, oh shit, yeah, this guy was really, he's talking about some real stuff, yeah. So, but yeah, no, he's definitely a legend. And yeah, what you had the point about sort of, you were saying how your granddad doesn't really, like, he thinks he's good, but he left it there. You said that you also spoke to someone else about Bob Marley. What was the verdict there?
So my dad is also in the, yeah, he's all right.
Okay.
Pretty cool conversation. My dad is like my music go-to. My dad is also still trying to be young. He listens to young podcasts.
Okay.
So you guys are on his radar. I'll be like, what are you doing?
Really?
Yeah, I'm not gonna knock it. Listen, if the big man still wants to see what the young people are doing, yeah, I'm not gonna knock it. But he's basically said to me that when he was growing up, he didn't see Bob Marley as that deep. He was just another artist. It wasn't his go-to. He would listen to people like Gregory, Isaac. Who else did he say? Like, he basically reeled off a list of other artists. He even said there was another group, the Wailing Souls,
Okay.
that he said he preferred. I said, Dad. But he said to me, you know what, Keanna? I don't know if I said this, but basically my dad was like, he's just another guy. Like, he would see Bob Marley in Battersea Park and be like, cool. So I guess when you couple that all together, you think, okay, this guy is just another Jamaican making cool music. He's not my go-to. He makes music that feels more commercial, but I respect him. It's kind of like that black man nod thing that I still respect.
Yeah.
But he said that now he was an adult then, but like, being an older man and reflect on everything, he can't knock him, and he respects his music even more, and he appreciates his music even more. And I think what you said about understanding the political, undertones, in fact, they were quite overt, to be fair, but like, if you understand the context, it becomes a lot deeper, because the sad reality is like nothing has changed. And Bob Marley made some risque statements. He said every government is illegal.
Yeah.
And at that time, like, you could you could get gone. Gone.
I mean, they tried to. So.
They tried. Then they brought the man back to the house. I said, actually, you know what? Yeah, I don't want to spoil that. I don't want to spoil the documentary for anyone who wants to go watch the doc. So, yeah.
I don't feel like it's spoiling, because for me, if it's something that's actually happened and you can just look it up, it's not spoiling. But I remember my brother said that I spoiled the Fred Hampton document. You know, not the documentary, the movie, the one with Daniel Kaluuya, the one that just came out. Like, bro, this is factual information. You study history, like you should know this stuff. Like,
yeah, I haven't watched that movie. Was it good?
I didn't even watch the whole thing. I just watched a bit, and then I mentioned that, oh, you know what happened to Fred, and then my brother was like, oh, spoilers. I'm like, bro, this is factual information. I'm not spoiling anything.
Yeah, but you, Keanna, you mentioned like that you grew up listening to the music. So you're saying like over time, the older generation have begun to like appreciate Bob Marley more. Is that what you're saying? Than maybe they did at the time he was originally making music.
Yeah, I feel like obviously there's a lot of context to this, right? Because the people that I will speak to are also first generation.
Okay.
First gen in the UK, apart from my granddad and the big people. Those are OG Jamaicans, but like my dad, his friends, all of them they're born here, and raised here. And I think there is an appreciation for his music in that you feel like he understands the fight on both places in the world. He understands what's going on politically in Jamaica, but he makes a comment overall. And I think his music also speaks to the move of Pan-Africanism in general that exists. So I think that's also why there's a greater appreciation. I can only speak for my dad. I mean, he'll allow me to speak for him, I think, at this point. But in that, this necessity to be unified, this necessity to have independence from the powers that be. And so you appreciate his music as an adult, having lived life and understanding what is going on, and deep in that he's not just scatting and jumping around and having a vibe. Like, this is a lot deeper. And that's what my dad says, like a lot of the tunes that he'll play, or like even my mom, both my dad and my house plays a lot of music basically. So now it's the battle. We kind of have like it's a real battle in the house for that Alexa boy, because everyone wants to me. But it's one of those things where my dad and my mom will say, like, we used to listen to this as when we were your age, and it was just a tune. But now we've lived life and we look back on when this tune was made and what we've gone through, and we understand what they were saying, and also the age. Like, I didn't have access in my research, my sample size of people who were like grown when Bob Marley was around, like at his prime. The people that I had were like late teens, early 20s. That makes also play into that.
Yeah, that's fair. Because I was gonna say the like a similar thing. Like, I'm not Jamaican, but I grew up with a whole heap of Jamaicans around. Like, there's a whole part of my family that has a lot of ties to Jamaica. So like, Bob Marley was a big thing. Like, Bob Marley was playing all the time. I mean, other artists were playing as well, but Bob Marley was huge. But when I think about that, like most of those Jamaicans were born in the UK. So it's not mainly like people from Jamaica. And the people that I know from Jamaica who like grew up there, who lived there, like I think it's more like you say, it's like, yeah, he's all right. Like he's good. I don't think there's the same like reverence. So,
but do you know Jamaicans that were because I'm thinking your granddad was probably 40 or 50 or something. I don't know. I'm trying to guess based on if your dad is like late.
My granddad would have been like 30.
Okay.
This is some on the spot mental math.
Yeah, that's what I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
But my granddad, what he did say, I don't want to speak for all Jamaicans, but when I talk to my friends whose parents are also Jamaican born and raised, so
yeah.
They my friends that would be first gen now. Yeah. I think the commentary is on his music is good and his music was poignant for the time. And as a young person, this was a big deal.
Yeah.
But the reality, like after you've listened to your 3 minutes or you've gone to the concert and you've held a vibe, the reality unfortunately is still the same.
Yeah.
So I think it all depends on how you view him musically. Like if you view him as a activist, then it's a big deal. But also there's another layer to it when you think about like being a Rasta, and even though in the UK or like in the world, kind of, there is this perception that everyone in Jamaica is a Rasta. Rastafarianism is so well supported and we just love it. It's not true. So there's also a layer to that too, like the being a minority group or being like cast out and being seen as XYZ or whatever, and seeing someone who represents your community authentically thriving and still staying true and wearing his dreads how he wants, doing what he wants, like that also plays a big role into the people that I know who are like born and raised in Jamaica and respect him even more. But like I can say this though, most Jamaicans like him.
Yeah.
Like even if he's all right, he's still liked. He's still like they still respect him and what he's done for the culture and what he's done for the country and the island. But I think there are layers to it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get you.
Songs are nice, but
yeah. Now the reason I was trying to guess your granddad's age when listening to Bob Marley is just because obviously if he's older, like you kind of, the artists you hold closest to you are the ones that like when you were sort of teenager, early 20s kind of thing, rather than when you're like 30, 40 people. Like I can't imagine in 10 years time an artist going to pop up that I'm going to like as much as I like certain artists that I like now. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, your granddad might just think he's all right because his generation's music is like, he listens to different kind of people.
my granddad would have been like late 20s. I've done the maths.
Okay.
I've mid to late 20s. I don't know how you feel about artists that you like mid to late 20s.
I'm now into that late. I was about to say I'm not there yet, but
yeah, you gotta think about it in 10 years.
Yeah.
Then you can say like, oh wait, did these artists really like hit me like that, or did they not? It's probably too soon right now.
Because the thing is as well, what I was thinking about when you were saying how, like on reflection, a lot of our parents have said, oh, he was actually really good, even though at the time I thought he was all right. It's kind of like how me now when I look back at like that summer of 2016, because I feel like we haven't had music like that since then. So then sometimes I look back and I'm like, man, I didn't know how good we had it then. Like, and I'll be listening, I'm like, this is real music, man. You know what I mean? So it might just be that where like they've seen all the years that have gone by, and like we did. I didn't know how good I had it at the time, and now I'm like, so.
Yeah, that's true.
That might be it as well.
That's true.
That summer was elite.
Fam.
This summer better match that. Real rap.
That's the hope. I'm hoping all the artists have got all their music in the tuck, and as soon as June 21st hits, I'll play.
You've been in a pandemic. You ain't go nowhere. You got a studio. If not, you can order one off Amazon. Like, what's your excuse, homie? Better make them tunes.
You see Drake talking about he sprained his ACL or tore his ACL, and that's why he has a.
That guy, I don't know how he thought he could swing that excuse.
Bro, it's coming in January, because the thing is, nobody forced you to release and say it's coming in January. You could have just been silent like everybody else has been. You said, listen, I got you guys. January, New Year, got through 2020. I'm gonna give you some music. Then he comes and puts on his Instagram story, I sprained my ACL, but as if the ACL has anything to do with us listening to your music. But yeah, anyway. And don't get me started on Kendrick, because the guy's a punk.
Where is he? He's disappeared.
No, listen. I had a long chat with my brother, because obviously anybody that knows us knows that we're Kendrick through and through. And we're hurting right now. Like I was talking to him, I said, bro, I don't know. I said to him, I was like, bro, I've been so desperate for some music. I almost listened to that AJ Tracy album, and it's 2021 right now. And I was like, because he was like, bro, where is Kendrick? I was like, man, you know what? The guy's a punk. Man. He's left us in our time of need. Let me, the artists, they're also humans. Live their life. So.
No, don't lose hope. I think the thing we can learn, is that we need to lower these expectations we have with these people, because they always let us down. But two, it means, you know how Kendrick is not just an artist, right? He's a storyteller. Like when you listen to Kendrick's album, you can't listen to it on shuffle. You gotta go through the story.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that like we've got a story, that there's a new character, Keisha's gone, like everyone's like, it's gonna be a build. Do you know what I mean? Like he's gonna take us through. Like, do you understand what I'm hoping for? This, I did say lower the expectations to only have like a whole. But I'm hoping for a genuine story. And I feel like the album should be minimum. Okay, I don't think it's gonna sound that well, but I don't care. I feel like it should be minimum 18 tracks because no. Do you know why? Because you've been out for a while. So obviously you need to double. I need it doubled. So I want to eat all the little bits in between or preview. Like, give that to me. Do you get? I need 9. I need transition. I need some voices. It's almost like Montel Fish is my like he's a lo-fi babe, but he does that in his albums too. I need the story. If Kendrick don't give us the story, then Kendrick should tap out. Okay, I should just tap out, say like I'm gonna buy.
I gave you. I've made my money. I've retired now.
That's not fair. It's not finished.
Honestly. Because when I was doing my thing and I saw Bob Marley had 16 albums in like maybe 18 years where he was actually active as an artist, and then he died. I was like, bro, this guy's like putting out, and this is at a time when it's not streaming, it's not easy to put out. Like you have to. I was like, man, we've been robbed, because these artists, they put an album out every once in a while, and they kind of leave us. It's listen, man, I need to work, I need to create. Bro, look at this guy making timeless music. Like, anyway,
some of these artists need to up their work rate, man.
Honestly.
You know what I think it is? You know, like when you're trying to make it as an artist, yeah, you grind. You'll be putting out mixtapes. I'm saying this as if I'm an artist, yeah, but this is why I assume that you've been putting out the mixtapes. You need to get heard, so you're shooting them out. Then you get a couple awards, think you made it, and you forget yourself. It's like, when your parents tell you humble yourself. Don't ever get to the top because the fall is great. This is the problem. I think the artist should hire me as their continual music put out coach, because I will remind you ain't made it yet, homie. You don't let the award in your award cabinet make you feel like you made it, because you ain't made it. There's more.
We need to record that speech and send it to Chance.
Honestly, I mean, it's recorded now. We'll send it, just that clip of the episode, and send it to everybody.
No, one thing to mention, yeah. The Wailing Souls. I was thinking, where have I heard the name, the Wailing Souls?
Yeah.
They have like the lead track on that Cool Runnings movie.
Oh, really?
That the intro track. I was thinking, because I know that name. I know the name. It's because I really like that song. But
I let my dad know that he's got another guy in his camp that respects that.
I need to listen to more of their music now, because I don't know anything else than that one song. But I like that song.
Now I'm gonna have a whole schooling session, because I told you guys I got a list, came like a uni reading list of all these artists that I need to.
Did you put us on?
Yeah, send that across.
When I go to the class, I'll let you know. I'll let you know my top 5 from my dad. My dad was going. I said, sir, it's a lot. But Bob Marley's a babe.
Say again?
I said Bob Marley overall, he's a babe. I respect the man. He made great music. He is actually a legend. I agree with you. Yeah. He's actually a legend. Timeless music. Your grandkids will be bopping to Bob Marley. Some people in this podcast be saying are legends, their children won't even be bopping.
Wait, who did you say was a legend? I'm confused.
She's trying to get into Aubrey, but we're not going to have it right now.
No. Do you know what? Actually, my opinion of Drake has changed, but we won't get to it right now. It's changed. You know what? I had to. I don't want to be a hypocrite, right? I think, you know what? My legend bar is very high. It's like an A star. Okay. Drake is an A. He's an A with A star potential, but when it comes to the UMS, unfortunately, Drake cannot be in the A star category. But he's definitely an A, because I was listening to, how Spotify all day, every day creates like the playlist. So I was like, I needed some Drake. It was a very wild time, studies. I was like, let me listen to some Drake. And I was like, you know what? I didn't skip past a lot of songs. Lyrics. I was like, you know what, Drake? I'm gonna give this to you. But legend, not yet.
Okay, yeah, fine. Legend. We'll wait and see once he's finished. You know.
Let's see when the next album drops. Let's have a Drake
Yeah.
a Drake spotlight after the
Oh, yeah,
next
we
album.
definitely have to do a great deep dive, man. Yeah.
Drake can't be a legend yet, though. I mean, we'll work it out either when he passes away, or if he gets to Beyonce stays. Because Beyonce, I'll give her legendary card.
I was gonna say you were arguing with me when I said Beyonce.
I have some issues, but I don't want to have to execute me. I'm trying to live my life June 21st, so I'm gonna just leave that there. But do you know why Beyonce on some papers gets the A-star? Because the whole je ne sais quoi. There's a lot of work that goes into like she's more than just a singer. Do you understand? I watched Beyonce and the babe performed. Listen, I still remember that as a grown woman and I was a child. So that's an indication that Beyonce on many occasions gets the A-star, but not consistent enough yet to get Michael Jackson, Bob Marley, legend credit. But when she dies, we're probably going to have a bank holiday. She has to, that she'll be a legend categorically. No, hands down, no arguments. See, look, I'm a grown woman. I can tell you my honest opinion. I just think let's not dash out the gold stars.
Wait, I get you. Let's wait. Because everyone has one and it's meaningless. I hear you. Okay, so yeah, Keanna, thank you so much for coming on. Before we go, do you want to sort of let people know what you're up to, where they can follow you if you want to?
Thank you for having me. What am I up to? Oh, I'm just doing a few bits and bobs. I'm just out here listening to Spotify all the time. So listening to you guys. But people can find me on Instagram. It's my whole entire name, Keanna Williams. And I started a YouTube channel, but it's on a hiatus. So you should probably like, comment, and subscribe for what you see now. And then when I'm off my hiatus, I'm gonna be back. I would plug my imaginary DJ career that I really want to have, but I haven't given birth to that baby yet. But nah, all seriousness, you can hit me up on the gram, and there you find all my stuff. And thank you guys for having me again. Talk about the wonderful Bob. Look at me saying Bob like I know him on a first name basis. Respect on his name, so I'm close under argument. Yeah, Bob Marley, an actual legend. I would agree on. Gold star, top of the class.
Yeah, so thank you for coming on. We'll definitely have you on again. Like I said, you're like a favorite amongst our fans. I should say our listeners, because when I say fans, it kind of gasses me up. So I'll say amongst our listeners, you're a favorite. So we'll definitely have you on again. And yeah, so guys, thank you for listening. You've been listening to 2Gs in a Pod. This was the third episode of the Spotlight series, where once a month we kind of shine a light on an artist, a genre, or a cultural moment that we feel isn't spoken about enough and isn't getting sort of the flowers it deserves. You can catch our episodes on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on SoundCloud. We've got visuals coming on YouTube as well. Follow us on Instagram at 2Gs in the Pod. Follow us on Twitter at 2Gs in the Pod _. And we're going to leave you with, I think this is my favorite Bob Marley song. We're going to leave you with Jamming.